And I wanted to read a comment from one of our listeners, Roberts. I don't know his last. I can't say his last name.
Jirovic.
He was talking about when kind of commenting on our paranormal podcast, and he said, over 20 years ago, I scattered my wife's ashes from the edge of a beautiful remote mountain in Sedona, Arizona. We hiked there about 4 months prior to her passing. She was very proud that she accomplished this after several years of chemo. When I visited the next morning, a huge flock of perfectly white birds jumped up from almost the exact spot, flew in a circle above the edge for a minute or a minute or so, and then flew off. I have been back many times since then and have never seen so much as one of these birds anywhere in Sedona.
Wow.
That's
That's
crazy.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great story. Love
Robert.
that.
Hiya.
Hiya.
Hiya!
It so reminds me of the Little Rascals. Didn't they used to have some strange little thing they did when they said hello? They'd go hiya or something like that.
Oh, no.
No?
They did?
That's F-U.
Yeah, they used to do something. Yeah. I can't
Really?
remember who and what it was and exactly where,
think
but I know
gangs
some
do
little
it.
kid did something like that on a movie at one time.
Okay.
There was one
hear
time
ya.
where a kid did something somewhere. We're not sure where or when or what movie it was. So,
Yeah.
hi to all our listeners. Thanks for listening.
Hiya.
Yeah.
Oh, we get our shit together here.
Yeah. I swear I get distracted. Anyway, all right. Thanks for everybody listening and putting lots of comments out there. We love your comments. So thanks so much. We appreciate it. The more you like, the more you comment, the better it is to get us out there. So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so
That's right.
much.
We
Yeah.
truly
Yeah.
appreciate it.
All right.
Very good.
Let's
right.
move on to our I am statements. I'll go ahead.
All
I
right.
will go first. And
Okay.
this is in honor of our topic today. So I am grateful to have had a strong mother who loved me dearly.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. I'll go next. I am responsible for myself, and I'm going to start there.
Nice. Mine is I am capable of being a bright light to whoever needs me.
I love
Yeah,
it.
it's awesome. Perfect.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Very good. So today, gals, we can move from that right into our topic, yeah?
Yeah.
I think we all kind of agreed, all of us have lost a parent, unfortunately. The whole process is tough. I think it's not just losing a parent. It's not just the act of finding out somebody's really ill. It's the whole process, right? From the beginning when you first find out news to going through the shock of it, the depression of it, then possibly the sickness that the person's going through, and the care, that's involved, and and then the actual passing itself and the funeral. I mean, it's a massive, massive, unfortunate part of life that I think we all end up having to go through at some point,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know that the three of us have talked about it quite often because of our age. We seem to have friends that go through it, or we've gone through it, or something's happening around us. So anyway, we thought it might be a good topic to share a little bit with our viewers about what we've gone through and what we've experienced, and I don't know, maybe process something a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be
What were you
helpful
gonna say, Jen?
to know other people going through the same feelings, emotions that they're going through, that you're not
Right.
alone.
Yeah.
So,
We know that it might be a little bit triggering for some people, and we definitely, that's not our intention. It really is to just open up and be ourselves. So I'll start. Just to kind of give an idea, my mom passed away 7 years ago, and I was extremely close with her. There's 5 of us, so she had 5 beautiful kids, and she was very close to all of us, and I was actually living with her when she got sick. And I think one of the things that I've always shared with you two is that it was totally unreal, going through it, because my mom was a talker. I think I got that from her. Sometimes we don't know when to stop talking, and we repeat concepts and things. And every time I do it, I think, "Yep, that's my mom." But the when she got the news that when she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer on Mother's Day, she didn't say much after that. She lived another 3.5 months. She lived till September 5th. And I think she maybe said 5 or 6 full sentences that communicated much of anything of what she wanted, right? The other stuff was, I don't want to take that med. I don't want to go through chemo. I don't want, it was just responses to questions, but she wasn't really communicating her emotions at all. So I think for me, it was definitely shocking. But one of the things I noticed that has changed me completely was the caring for her process. It was totally different than what I had expected. Because I was so close to her, I thought that it would come very natural and very easy, and that I was just going to be able to pour in 24/7 of my time and energy and love, and that it wasn't going to burn me out, And even though she didn't struggle very long, I can tell you from the day it started, when she got diagnosed, to the day she passed, I literally felt myself going down. Mm-hmm. I felt like not only emotionally was I dying inside, but I felt like physically I was dying. It was like I was going with her. And I remember telling my sister all the time, like, I'm not healthy. Like, something's happening. My body is changing, and I'm not able to do this. And this was when we got into like end of July, August. I could just feel myself kind of losing it, and physically losing it. So I share that because I'm shocked by it. I'm shocked that it was so hard for me to care for her. And I think that one of the things that I didn't realize about caring for somebody was how much energy it takes. And there's I was so full of fear every single minute that I was with her. I was so full of fear. And I literally didn't think once about stopping and catching my breath, or stopping and having a coffee with a friend to cry, or just stopping and taking a bath. I look back and I remember the house was filthy. My feet were black because it sounds disgusting, but I mean, this is what I was going through. The floors weren't cleaned for months because I wasn't worried about any of that. I was just focused on the garden. My mom was like, "This is the best the garden's ever looked." But it's because it was the only place she would sit. So I would sit back there with her, and I'd water and prune and, "Look, Mom, what about that?" But it was a really wild time for me. When I watch people now, my heart bleeds for them, because I want to say to them, "Hey, stop for a minute. Stop and come out with me, for a margarita." And I don't know what happens. In your mind, I felt so guilty. I would not leave. And it didn't do the good that I thought it was going to do, if that makes sense. I wasn't available like I wanted to be available.
You were more in survival mode.
Yeah.
Than
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and your mom changed so much. She changed so much and that was probably very unexpected as well. And then, like, how do you handle that? And you're trying to talk to her and she's not talking back. I think that's really difficult. So, you don't know what to do. So,
yeah. It was really wild. Like, I would never think that end of life was like that, to be honest. I mean, my mom was very spiritual, so everything that happened was so unreal, like so unexpected. And I had this feeling that it was because I was full of fear. My brothers and my sister were full of fear. My sister-in-laws were full of fear. I mean, I could just see all of our faces. Like, none of us could could understand, and I could see my mom was full of fear. And it was like, when I look back at that time, it was not something that I would have wanted for end of life, and when I look at my end of life, I don't want that. And I don't know how to change that. I don't know how to prepare everybody around me for something like that, to say, look, or prepare myself to say, I hope to God I can talk through my fears when I'm at the end of my life. I hope to God I can get things out, and I don't know. All I can tell you is it was shocking to me. Like it was the biggest shock of my life. And that shock didn't just last on the day that she was diagnosed. It literally lasted every single minute until a couple months after she passed. It was weird. Very, very strange time for us.
My dad, what's your mom's name?
Valerie.
Valerie. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we should acknowledge the names.
I love that. Yeah.
My dad's name was Harold, and he got diagnosed with cancer of his parotid gland, which is a salivary gland in the face. And so when they took that out, he became horribly disfigured, and because his whole side of his face was paralyzed. And so for 5 years, he went through 10 to 12 surgeries, chemo, radiation, like the whole shebang. And my dad was a man of very few words. And so he just kind of fought his battle on his own. He took care of everything till the last week. He was monitoring his medications. I mean, he would just took care of everything. Very, didn't talk a lot, but he had his shit together ready to die. Very stoic. But the thing that surprised me was how much he let me care for him. Because it wasn't something that he would ever let me or my mom do. Like, he wanted to do it himself. He wanted to do it his way, and which is a gift. Like right now, I see it as a
beautiful gift. Yeah.
Because he just took care of everything. But at the end, he wanted me there, and I would lay in bed with him, at night, and then he'd be like, okay, you can leave now. I mean, I wanted as much time with him as I could get, and he would be sure to tell me, like, okay, it's time for you to go so I can sleep, and always asked for me. And I just felt like one of my friends said something to me that really stuck with me, was like, I consider it an honor to be able to care for my parent as they're dying.
I love that.
And just that twist of perspective for me helped me so much, because it is an honor, and it sucks, and it's so hard. But I read this poem. It's something about your friend asks you to carry them to the top of the mountain. Or they want you to go with them, and on the journey you're walking with them, and they become too tired, and then you have to carry them, and they're heavy, but they're helping you mentally along the way to help you finish that journey. And you change just as much as they change, because you have taken this journey. And it's I think we can all agree that once you have lived this with somebody and experienced this with somebody, you're changed forever.
Forever. Yeah.
There's you just are a different person,
It's a defining moment.
Yeah.
So true.
So, I mean, for me, my dad gave me a gift at the end, and let me care for him, and and wanted me there, and talked to me, and, gave me good advice on his deathbed, and, so that was
I almost have, I've lost my mom and my dad. I lost them in a 2-year period. And I have almost 2 different experiences, it's funny because I can relate to both of you because I've had 2 different experiences. But my dad was the first. I think it's been about 3 years, or coming up on 3. So, and he had cancer, but he had cancer for a long time. And he was living with my brother in Austin. We moved him from Vegas, and but it wasn't, of course, until the end he decided to not do chemo anymore. So, we just naturally saw him decline, and we were bathing him and getting him into a wheelchair and, doing all of that. But my sister and I would drive up every weekend, and my brother and his wife took care of him during the week, and we were trying to give them a little break. But I felt like, I think at the time it was just kind of like life was really crazy and you're just sort of going through it, just sort of like, this is what I got to do. But I feel like when I look back on it, it was such a gift. It's just what you said, Jen. It was such a gift. For one, it was a gift in ways of me and my brother and sister. We saw each other every weekend. We connected, we talked, we cried, we did. So we built such a bigger bond than we've always been close, but I'm telling you, it was just really awesome. Like, we missed each other after my dad passed. And then the other thing is, my dad, we didn't grow up around my dad because he lived in Vegas. I mean, we grew up, we saw him often, but it wasn't like a day to day. And like you, Jen, I'd get in bed and he wanted to watch everything about Alaska. And so I know all those series, those reality shows about Alaska. And then we'd go through all his collections and, look at his cars and all those things that, when you're younger, you're like, oh my God, are we really doing this again? But it felt like I was so happy to do it with them. And it was such an incredible time to have conversations that we've never had. And so when he passed, it was my brother, sister, and I all, we knew he was at the end. We were around his bed. We were all holding hands, and he passed and we were all together. And it was really, the process obviously is not a great process. It's a terrible thing to watch. But at the same time, it was such a gift. I feel like it was such a blessing to be able to be in that environment and have that time and closure with my father. And then I have my mom's story, who passed about a year ago. And I probably am still struggling with that whole thing. I don't really talk about it all that much, and I'm not even sure I've processed it. But she literally, she had been declining in her health, and we all knew something was going on, but of course she didn't want to tell us anything. And she was married, so her husband did everything for her. And then it just kind of got to the point where we go, Mom, I'm coming over today. And she'd be like, I just don't feel good. I just don't think today's a good day. I'm not feeling really great. Well, anyway, this went on for months. It was Christmas was the last time she ever got out of the house. And she died May 26th of last year. And it just got to a point where she was in so much pain and not moving out of a recliner chair. She literally sat in this recliner chair. And my sister and my brother-in-law got her to an ER. And the ER said, you have cancer all over your entire body. And my mom just went, like, yeah. And she passed away 4 days later. It was just such a whirlwind. And she was in pain, so they would knock her out. So she wasn't really coherent. There was no more conversations to be had from the point. And I never really got to have any conversations with her, any closure with her, any reminiscing of the past, I didn't have an opportunity to care for her. And I have huge regrets about that because I didn't know she was sick. And I feel like I should have changed a lot of my reactions to her, been more kind to her, done a little bit more for her. So I kind of live a little bit with some of that kind of maybe guilt. And she just didn't want to burden anybody. And she kept this sickness in her for 9 years. 9 years. She found a lump 9 years prior and knew that she was never going to do anything about it. Didn't want anybody to know about it. And she didn't want to burden us. But when I think, God, almost it feels worse. It feels worse to not know and not have that gift that my dad gave me. So her last few days were pretty awful of us trying to make the right decision. And then is that going to be a good decision? Would she be okay? Would she be mad at us? It's all of that kind of stuff. And we were all together. Yeah. And we were all together for hers, but it felt really different felt really different for that one. So I don't know. I'm still processing some of that, but kind of like how Tish, how you with your mom, it's just kind of like your mom shut down. Well, my mom shut down, you know, within probably that whole year. Yeah, she just kind of lived her own
never
thing,
told you,
never told anybody. So anyway, it's just a whole different experience.
I'll tell you, I have a hard time now when I listen to both sides, even with my mom. I have a hard time making any judgment call. Like if somebody were to not tell me and go their whole life and not tell me that they were ill, I know what you're saying. The pain that it creates in the person that's surviving it could be really, really massive thing to get over. But at the same time, I understand what my mom went through. It's so individual. It's her life. It's literally
Right.
her dreams, her perspective, and her way of dealing with it. Her spiritual beliefs had to be going on in it. She had to have been processing. That's all when I look back, I just know that I know my mom so well, like you knew your mom so well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we all should be allowed to have the right to direct the end of our lives. And as much as it kills those who survive, when I look back, and I have regrets as well. I mean, there's so many regrets I have. Jen, when you said you lay down with your dad, I wanted to die because my mom begged me to lay down with her all the time. That's one thing she kept saying is, please just lay here with me. But my mom was a diabetic. She had ketones at that time, and I was the one who was always managing it. And I always felt like, I don't know what happened up here. Like I said, something happened to me. Yeah. And I went on overdrive, and I could not lay down next to her for longer than like 15 minutes. I felt like I was supposed to be up and monitoring her and checking her blood pressure and checking her sugars and making sure she ate. And I had to be doing something. And it wasn't cleaning. I wasn't doing laundry. It wasn't that kind. And I know some people do that too, but those are regrets I have that I didn't lay down with her. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think that those moments in life, anybody can be judged for any of it. I don't think the person who's taking care of their loved one could be judged. I don't think the person who's letting go of their life can be judged, because I do think, Jana, with your mom specifically, I don't think she wanted to be catered to for the last 9 years of her life. I don't think she wanted people to come up and go, oh, can we take pictures? This might be the last pictures. We don't know how long we have. I mean, that also is not, my mom would not have loved to live like that. So it's a really hard thing to swallow. But at this stage of my life, I realize there's no judgments that I want to make on myself. I could list, I did list, knowing we were going to talk about this. I listed 7 different things that I regret. And then I realized as you're talking, like, no, I don't have any regrets. I mean, her end of life happened the way it happened. And, and you said it, Jennifer, it's an honor to be a part of somebody's life while they're living. It's an honor to have been her daughter. It's an honor to have been there when she passed, to be holding her hand, to touch her chest as she was breathing her last breath. I mean, those are all gifts. And as much as I could go back and fix a million different things, I don't know that it would have eased any pain. I think it's just pain. I think she was in pain and I was in pain and my family was in pain, because nobody wants to lose out on, nobody wants to let go. And I don't know that there's a single right decision that can be made on anybody's part.
Right.
No.
It's a crazy time.
It is a crazy time. And how are you supposed to prepare for it? And like I said, it's totally 2 different situations. I don't know how you would ever, I don't know how you prepare anybody for it, so.
I do think it's important to have discussions about all of this before anybody's in the situation. To talk about death and to make it a normal topic, and because families are lost and broken when it's not discussed, and it causes a great deal of harm to the family. I'm not saying whoever's dying can do whatever they want and however they want, but I do think it needs to be a discussion
way ahead of time.
Way ahead of time.
When there's not so much pain and fear and anxiety.
And Tish, yours was shock. I mean, you were in shock and you were in survival mode, and it's fast. I had 5 years.
Yeah.
You know,
and even that's fast.
Yeah, but it was like I envisioned it for 5 years.
Yeah.
And he talked about it for 5 years,
Right.
and he prepared us, and this is what I want. You know, I mean, so it was much easier. But if you have a shock, and Jana, you know, had the same thing. But when you have a shock and it's pancreatic cancer, and our time is very limited, you were in survival mode.
Yeah.
You know, and I want you to sit down and list 7 things that you did great and that you're proud of.
You're right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
But you can't live in that regret. You write down those 7 things that you're proud of.
Yeah.
You did
I will.
a good job.
And I'll send it to you.
Yeah. You did a good job.
Accountability.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
I do want to say something I heard on a podcast from Esther Hicks. She mentioned something I thought was absolutely beautiful. A woman stood up and said something like what we're saying, and that she was struggling letting her mother go, and her mother had been gone 2 years, and she was still struggling. And Esther said to her, she said, all I can tell you is your loved one was with you, and you became a very specific person while they were with you. And you were a very specific person in that relationship. And as they've left you, you are going to be a very different person after. And without that happening, there is zero growth. And when she said it a lot more eloquently in a lot more words, but I will tell you this, I stopped that podcast and I was walking, and I spent 20 more minutes thinking about my mom. And I hate to say this, but it's the God's honest truth. When my mom and I were together, I was the same. I was my mom's girl, my mom's little girl. I would come home and she would have like hot water bottle in the bed if it was freezing cold out, because she knew I was always cold, and she would do little things for me. I was that girl the whole time, as a little girl to when my mom died. I was 47. I was that same little girl with my mom. Since my mom's been gone, I can't tell you how many things have changed, and how many times I've said to myself, ooh, my mom would not have liked that, but my mom's not here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my mom was very honest in her life. She was one of those people who used to say, God, I hate it when somebody dies, all of a sudden they were wonderful, and yet everybody hated them prior when they were living.
Yeah.
She hated that. And she was very honest. And I've thought about my mom many times as I've been growing and changing, and I've thought, she would never want me to be anybody but who I'm growing into. It doesn't matter if she thought it was a different way before, you know, She wasn't perfect. And so my sister and I talk about this a lot. Many, many things that we've learned from my mom, we've slowly started to unlearn and change and become our own individual woman. And I'm not saying that it was right or wrong. It just wasn't for us. But we had lived it so long with my mom's way that that's the only way we knew. And now when I slowly find myself changing and growing into a different type of woman and learning to have a different perspective, and or at least being open to something different, I'm proud because I feel her around me smiling, going, that's it. That's it. Keep growing. It's not just what I taught you. It's what I taught you and some.
Yes.
And then take that and grow. So I do think that these moments that we struggle, that are so hard, I think that they are meant to be a before and an after, if that makes sense.
But
you know,
that person is still
100%
because of your after. Like you're
100%.
becoming that after because of them. Right. Jana,
yeah,
what were the
it's a
names of your
journey.
parents?
I know. I was just thinking that I didn't say, but my dad was James. He went by Jim, and my mom was Doreen. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Shout out to our parents in heaven.
That's
Shout
right.
out.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're
Much
probably really
love.
proud of us.
Yeah, for sure. I
My
think they
dad
love our
would not.
podcast.
Yeah. My dad would be like, I don't
He'd be
know.
like, Jennifer, don't say that. Awesome.
Well, that's it. Great, girls. Thank
right.
you for talking about that. I know that's a tough,
Yeah.
tough subject, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
That's a
if
good-
our listeners, if you guys have any thing to share, Robert, I think that what you shared was really, really great today. I think it was very pertinent to this conversation as well.
Yes.
And
For sure.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing some personal things. We do
Yeah.
appreciate
And if you
it.
are
Yeah.
currently taking care of one of your parents, our hearts are out with you. And
We send
you
you
will
all the
make it.
energy.
Yeah.
You will make
Yeah.
it, but it's not easy.
You will make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Just deep breaths.
Yeah.
It's a gift. Don't forget it's a gift.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And take some baths to
Yeah.
relax.
And go have a margarita.
or go have a margarita with your friends. Yeah.
Or two.
Or
Or
six.
two.
All right.
All right.
It was
good.
good talking with you guys.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
too. Everybody
you,
have a
girls.
great week. Bye.
Yeah.
You too. Bye bye.
Thanks. Sending you much love.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye bye.